All right, so at this point, we've talked about the idea of systems and why systems are amazing. We have mapped our own system of content production or whatever the thing that is that we're doing. And then in the last lesson, we spoke about various ways that you can optimize your existing systems to make them more streamlined, more simple, and more efficient. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how you can add bits and how you can create a system for things that do not currently have a system, because generally having a system for the things that we do is like generally a good thing, and not having to rely on our own individual talent, our own creativity, is often also a good thing. Obviously, there is some level to which there is, we are creatorpreneurs here and not just boring entrepreneurs here. We are creatorpreneurs. And so there's an element of creativity and like personal flair and vibes that go into everything that we do. There's definitely a way to do that. And we've done that specifically with our system for idea generation and a little bit for our system of writing. And I'm going to break down our idea generation system so that you can also get ideas for how you want to formulate your own systems. So essentially, we have mapped our system and we realized I'm spending 10 minutes a week on idea generation, and also kind of realized that idea generation is really the key lever which causes growth of the channel. If we can come up with a video idea that is a potential banger video, a potentially viral video, then everything else works really nicely and everything grows on the YouTube channel. So how do we then optimize for generating interesting, novel, creative ideas that could potentially be banger videos? That is where the idea generation system comes in. And the way that we create a system around this sort of stuff is, again, similar to the map the system concept, in that if we are good at doing the thing already, we want to try and understand what we are doing in our own brains to generate ideas. So for example, within idea generation, one aspect of it is just like, I might have a shower thought. One day, I'm in the shower and I just have a thought for something that could make a good video. And so that's all well and good. I've got these shower thoughts. But the next question is, in order to create a system, how can I turn idea generation into a series of checklists or a step-by-step process that someone other than me can follow? And this speaks to the stuff that Michael Gerber talks about in the E-Myth Revisited, which we're going to talk about in the outflow section in particular. But the basic idea is, how can we create a business whose results are dependent on systems rather than whose results are dependent on people? So can I create a system for generating content ideas that anyone could follow, anyone with brains, rather than a system that only I can follow because it relies on my own personal creativity? And that's kind of the challenge. So I'm going to break down the thought process of what this looks like. And that's not to say you need to copy the system for your own idea generation. I'm just giving you an idea of what the thought process in my mind is, and how, for example, a business would think about systemizing in an existing workflow. And so the first thing I'm going to be thinking about is, other than random thoughts that have popped into my mind for things that could be videos, what are some other video ideas that have done well for me? And can I reverse engineer the thought process that resulted in that particular video? So in my mind, I have the example of a video called How I Take Notes on My iPad Pro in Medical School, Cambridge University medical students, something to that effect. And I made that video in 2018, and that was like video number 90 for me on my channel. And that was a video that really went viral and still continues to get views to this day, like 4 years later. And I distinctly remember the way I came up with that idea was that I happened to be browsing YouTube for iPad related content. And I happened to stumble across a video called How I Take Notes on My iPad Pro as an Engineering Student. And that video had 2 million views and the channel only had like 100,000 subscribers or something. So I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. There's a 20x difference between their subscriber count and their view count. This is an interesting video. And therefore I'm going to steal the idea from the title of that video. I didn't even watch the video. I don't tend to watch videos that I'm stealing ideas from. I tend to just look at the titles and think, how can I do this video in my own way? And so I reasoned at the time that, hey, what if I did a video called How I Take Notes on My iPad Pro as a medical student? Because everyone knows medical students are cooler than engineering students. Apologies if you have studied engineering. And that's what led to that particular video being formed, turned into like, I think, a 14-minute video, which has now got over 5 million views and made the channel absolutely explode in the early days. And by early days, I mean a solid year into making content and 90 videos later. So let's reverse engineer. What was the thought process that led to that viral video? It was recognizing another video that had done really well relative to that channel's subscriber count. And so if I'm trying to create a system, that system is going to involve something like sort of using other people's success. And I know a video is successful if it, for example, fits within the sort of thing that I might want to do. And I'm going to say, so that fits my core focus, to use the traction terminology that we've already talked about. A video about taking notes on an iPad is absolutely a video that I could do. And what made that a successful video in my eyes, the engineering one, is that it had a very high view to subscriber ratio. And those are really the two main factors that happened in my mind to lead to this title, How I Take Notes on My iPad in Med School, and that became the viral video. And so the question is, can I create a system based around this sort of thing? And the answer is yes, absolutely. So my thought process while creating the system is, if I were to hire someone else and I were to give them a series of step-by-step, like a step-by-step process to follow, how would they come up with interesting video titles? And so breaking that down further, and I'm just kind of talking you through the thought process in my head here. And so I'm going to break this down further and just share the thought process in my head. So that's going to be like step 1. They're probably going to want to find channels that are similar to mine. So let's find the top 30 channels on YouTube that are at least somewhat tangentially related to the Ali Abdaal channel in that they make similar-ish content. Once we found those channels, this like hypothetical person, let's call him John, my freelancer, John is going to go through all those channels and look at their top 20 videos. And then John is going to make a table of those video titles with their view counts relative to that channel's current subscriber count. We could be more sophisticated about this. We could use something like Social Blade to figure out what was their sub count at the time of upload and extrapolate how many views to subs they had at the time, etc., etc. That's getting a bit too complicated. We're all about simplicity. And so at the end of this process, we'd end up with a table of 400 video titles along with subscriber to view ratios. And I'd be able to sort that list by the subscriber to view ratio. And now this is a potential way that I might systematically generate ideas for videos. Again, I'm not asking John to watch the videos. I don't want to accidentally plagiarize anything, but I'll look at that top title and be like, 9 passive income ideas, how I make $10,000 a week. Ooh. That's an interesting video title. That's a sort of video that I could do. Let me do my own version of it. Let me do 7 passive income ideas, how I make $27,000 per week, or whatever that might be. I might see a video being like, what I spend in a week as a YouTuber. And I'd be like, oh, that's got a good subscriber to view ratio. Why don't I make a video called what I spend in a week as a doctor and YouTuber? That sounds kind of cool. That fits within my core focus. I might see a video called iPad Pro 2022 review and think, I could just do an iPad Pro 2022 review. I can just copy the same title because, it's just an iPad review, but that seems to have a high view to sub ratio. I could see a video where someone has done a summary of the book. I don't know, let's pick a more mainstream book. These books aren't particularly mainstream. I could see a video on that list where there's a high view to sub ratio where someone has done a summary of the book Traction, and then I could watch the video and be like, oh, okay, they've just done those whiteboard animation-y type videos. And so I could think, I could do a summary of the book Traction, but I can do it in my own style. I can do the overhead camera rig, I can do my own thing, I can have B-roll, I can give my own personal experience, because that's one thing that's missing from that video that I've just seen. And as I'm talking through this process, I'm realizing that there's probably a third step here, which is also a thing that John could do. John could watch each of those 400 videos, and John could write things that he likes about them and things that he doesn't like about them. And now all of a sudden we have a pretty robust process for generating ideas based on using other people's successful videos. Now, obviously this is going to miss some things. If there's a totally random channel that is randomly blown up with a random video that could tick these boxes, it won't appear in those top 20 channels within my niche. And so maybe there'd be an alternative way of modifying the system to also include smaller channels, where it's like, let's look at all channels that have somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 subscribers within my niche. Let's see if any of them have any videos that have performed disproportionately well, and I can potentially steal ideas from them. Cool, so I've got a system now for this number 2, using other people's success. And then I'm gonna think, what's another way that I could add to my system, which again would be a step-by-step process that other people can follow for generating ideas. And I might realize that I could ask my audience for video ideas. YouTubers do that thing where they're like, hey guys, if you've got any suggestions for more content, leave a comment down below. Can I do that? But can I turn it into a system? And I'm thinking, okay, one potential way of asking the audience would be to do the, hey guys, leave a comment down below. But that's a bit annoying. Like, it's not very systematic. It's very hard to analyze the data. People will click off as soon as they hear that the video is ending. What else could I possibly do to get video ideas from my audience? Well, potentially I could create a community post or post on Twitter or Instagram asking people for content ideas. And I could say something like, hey guys, thank you so much for watching the videos. Really want to help make more content that resonates with you guys. What are some videos you'd like to see me make? The other thing I could potentially do, and this is an idea that we've had a while ago that we haven't yet implemented, so feel free to steal this idea, stealing like an artist if you would like, is can we make a Google form or something where people can officially suggest video titles and video ideas. And if we make one of their video ideas, and they are the first person to have suggested that particular idea, because we'll know because it's all timestamped, then can we give them some kind of reward? Can we, for example, pay someone $50 anytime we make a video that's based on a title of their choosing? Where maybe the fields could be, what's your name? What's your email address? So we've got those details. What's the video title that you're proposing? What would be the rough concept? Like, why should Ali make this video? And if they have any thumbnail suggestions, what that could be, they hit the submit button. That all goes into a Google Sheet. And now we have an automatically populated Google Sheet where we can use the power of the audience to generate ideas for videos. And it's kind of nice because it helps create more of a community. It means more people are invested in the success of the channel, because then they're like, oh my God, Ali's making a video that I suggested and that person feels good. Maybe they get a shout out in the video or in the video description, anything like that. And that would be another way to systemize the generation of title ideas. And coming back to our main point overall, we've recognized that systematically idea generation is the lever that we really want to pull to help grow the channel. Therefore, how can I generate more interesting ideas for content? Another way of doing this might be to see, look at other places other than YouTube and see what works. So for example, what are the different areas of the internet that my target audience would be spending time in? Could I, for example, look at a site like BuzzFeed and look at their productivity section to see what are their top ranking articles of productivity? Could I search Google and see what's coming up for productivity? Could I potentially look on the productivity or personal development or self-improvement or minimalism subreddit and see what sort of stuff is being upvoted on Reddit? Could I look at sites like Upworthy, which like specialize in surfacing viral content? What are all the different ways outside of YouTube where I can get inspiration, i.e. steal like an artist, from other people who've created content? And then how can I take that title idea and make it my own? Now, I just want to reiterate, this is not specific to YouTubers. Whatever creator you are, whatever kind of creatorpreneur you are, you do need to have some kind of system for generating ideas. And it's just up to you how explicit you want that system to be. I'm just trying to give you an insight into what's going on in my mind when I'm thinking about creating a system around idea generation. Because going back to our kind of pyramid example, the people that build systems to get stuff done generally succeed more than the people who just manually themselves try to get stuff done. And then what you can do is whatever your system for idea generation is, you can take it a step further and make it even more of a system. So for example, my friend Dickie Bush, who teaches a writing course called Ship 30 for 30, which is very good, would recommend. He has his endless idea generator, similar to our idea generation machine that we teach in our part-time YouTuber Academy. But here is what his endless idea generator looks like, where he's got the 4A framework, 11 proven approaches, and the 3 types of credibility. So actionable, analytical, aspirational, anthropological, how-to, lessons learned, mistakes, quotes, ways, tools, trends, stats, reasons, examples, embarrassing moments. All of these are like more systematic ways of generating title ideas. It's a way of generating endless ideas. And actually, I should start using the system because as I'm going through, I'm thinking, ooh, I could totally do an actionable video about how to create a course. 10 lessons learned from the Part-Time YouTuber Academy. 8 mistakes I made when first starting a business. 5 quotes about being a creator that changed the way I operate. 7 ways to make content creation more efficient. 8 tools to be more productive in 2022. 5 trends in productivity that are worth following. Stats, not that interesting. Reasons. 8 reasons to start a YouTube channel in 2022. 10 examples of creators making $100,000 a month from the internet. Like, I've literally just come up with those at the top of my head, but just using Dickie's endless idea generator thing. And that speaks to the power of a system, because ultimately what we're trying to do here is trying to create leverage. We're trying to create a system where the system does most of the work for us. And then we just need to plug our ingenuity into the system. We're not replacing our ingenuity. Ultimately, my read on what a good video is going to be for my audience is going to be better than a random Joe Blogs down the street, even if he's following my system. But the point is, when you have the system, you have this like guardrail framework that you can use to plug in your own talent, and then that gives you an output that's greater than just your own talent alone would have been. And what strikes me as I say this is that this is actually fairly similar to what we do as doctors. You know, when you're a doctor and you're taking a history from a patient, you're doing the patient interview, asking them what's wrong with them, there is a system called the Calgary-Cambridge model, which is taught in communication skills classes for clinicians, where it basically gives you a systematic way of asking the patient questions. You know, presenting complaint, ideas, concerns, expectations, past medical history, systems review, drug history, family history, social history, and then all the other stuff that goes with that. And that's not to say that doctors are blindly following a system, but it is to say that when you have a system, you have a thing that you can fall back on, you have a framework that you can hang your own vibes off of. And it means that you can go through the system and you can like have this mental checklist in your mind of, let me make sure I've asked everything I need to ask. So for whatever aspect of your production workflow, production pipeline, production system, whatever aspects that you think are the highest leverage bits, for me, it's idea generation and writing, for example, I'd encourage you to explore all the different ways that you can turn it into a system. If you had to break it down into a step-by-step process that anyone could follow, not just you, what would that system look like? And then you'll magically find, I promise, that when you plug yourself into that system because you're a pro and you have that creative flair, your creativity is going to expand and you're going to think, oh my God, it's so great that I now have this framework that I can plug my own ingenuity into, rather than everything having to be a heavy lift at the end of the day. Coming back to our pyramid stories of those 2 brothers, one of them has a system, one of them didn't, and the one who didn't ended up dying of a heart attack. Hopefully that's not going to happen to us if we're creators, but either way, it just shows the power of building a system and having a system for our content output. So that's the end of this lesson. Please check out the worksheet area down below for some more interactive exercises and questions and journaling prompts that you can follow to help figure out how you can create your own systems. And I'd really recommend it. It's absolutely sick. Like, it's just night and day difference between when I started YouTube without a system and then when I started building systems for various aspects of content creation for YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, podcast, LinkedIn, email newsletter. We now have systems in place for all those things. The great thing about a system is I can follow the system, but the even better thing about the system is that I can get other people to then follow the system. And that's what we're going to talk about in module 3, skipping ahead a bit in the outflow section. So check out the interactive exercises down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to wrap up module 1 of the course. Thanks for watching, and see you then.